This season, Instacart has your back to school. As in, they've got your back to school lunch favorites like snack packs and fresh fruit. And they've got your back to school supplies like backpacks, binders, and pencils. And they've got your back when your kid casually tells you they have a huge school project due tomorrow. Let's face it, we were all that kid. So first, call your parents to say I'm sorry, and then download the Instacart app to get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes all school year long. Get a $0 delivery fee with your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 an order. Additional terms apply.
It's Saturday the 27th of July. I'm Ciara Evans, and this was a week that saw Joe Biden pass the torch to Kamala, rows over the child benefit cap, Labour launch Great British Energy, and Prince Harry speak out on tabloid tales.
Grab a cup of something hot, put up your feet, and get up to speed on the 7 biggest stories of the week. This is the Standout 7 from the Smart 7.
It's news,
but not the news.
US politics was in the headlines all week after Sunday saw President Joe Biden announce he would no longer be accepting the Democratic nomination for the 2024 presidential race and ending his re-election campaign. The 81-year-old faced mounting pressure to step down in recent weeks following a poor presidential debate performance last month. Tributes poured in for the president from many in his party, including from former South Carolina State Representative Bakari Sellers.
Joe Biden has been one of the most consequential and transformative presidents this country's ever seen. And by stepping aside and doing so today, he continues that mantra of being that transformational candidate.
With just 4 months to go until election day, it meant the Democrats had to choose another candidate, and Biden immediately gave his endorsement to current Vice President Kamala Harris. She issued a statement on Sunday evening saying her intention was to earn and win the nomination while also uniting the party. She got major backing already from Biden and Bill and Hillary Clinton, but not directly from Barack Obama. Congressman Eric Swalwell said she's the best person for the job.
I fully support Kamala Harris. And in fact, she's been trained by the best. Joe Biden was a vice president himself, and so she probably had the best mentor to work under. And she's tough, she's smart, she's real, and she's everything that we need as we go up against somebody who would take away every freedom.
There was an immediate and positive reaction to Vice President Kamala Harris's announcement, starting with an extraordinary wave of donations from grassroots Democrats across the country. The Act Blue organisation said on Monday they were on track to raise over $80 million, an unprecedented level of fundraising which Democrats hope will be reflected in equal enthusiasm at the polls. Harris spoke on Monday, filling in for Joe Biden, who continues to isolate at an event for the NCAA championship teams.
Joe Biden's legacy of accomplishment over the past 3 years is unmatched in modern history. In one term, he has already, yes, you may clap.
She gathered more endorsements from senior Democrats, including Nancy Pelosi, and congressional leaders, along with an ever-growing number of delegates that would see her comfortably secure the nomination. One of those endorsing her was Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, who is hotly tipped as a potential running mate.
Well, I think if somebody calls you on that, what you do is at least listen. And I want the American people to know what a Kentuckian is and what they look like, because let me just tell you that J.D. Vance ain't from here.
US President Joe Biden was seen in public on Tuesday as he headed back to the White House with a COVID-free clean bill of health. Meanwhile, Vice President Kamala Harris wasn't wasting any time as she addressed a packed campaign event on Tuesday evening and picked up more endorsements too, including from Minority Leader Congressman Hakeem Jeffries and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer.
Democrats are moving forward stronger and more united than ever before. In just the last 36 hours, I have seen a surge of enthusiasm from every corner of our party uniting behind Vice President Harris. An enthusiasm felt in every corner of the country.
Former UK Ambassador to the US, Sir Peter Westmacott, said that her energy and vitality has helped to switch the focus for the race.
With Joe Biden standing down, who is the grumpy old man who talks gibberish when he's giving interviews? It is Donald Trump. So the focus is a bit more on him as being old and potentially past it.
Joe Biden made a long-awaited return to the media spotlight on Wednesday evening. His abdication had seen Vice President Kamala Harris effectively become the nominee and sparked new excitement amongst Democrats, who raised over $130 million from 1.4 million donors and saw a wave of voter registration and volunteers to join her campaign. Joe said he believed his record as president deserved a second term, but he understands the priority is beating Donald Trump, and so he stepped aside.
Nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy. That includes personal ambition. So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. That's the best way to unite our nation.
The latest polling gathered since Joe Biden announced he was passing the torch to Kamala Harris on Sunday has started to show significant momentum for the vice president. While Trump still remains marginally ahead in most polls, he's been benefiting from a post-convention bounce and a sympathy bounce after the failed assassination attempt. There's still some uncertainty about what actually happened at the rally, with FBI Director Christopher Wray floating the possibility that Trump was not actually hit by a bullet, but instead by shrapnel of some kind. Meanwhile, the Kamala train keeps building momentum, and she dropped her first ad featuring music from Beyonce.
There are some people who think we should be a country of chaos, of fear, of hate. But us, we choose something different. We choose freedom.
Friday morning saw an official endorsement from Barack and Michelle Obama in a phone call to Kamala.
This is going to be historic.
We called to say Michelle and I couldn't be prouder to endorse you and to do everything we can to get you through this election and into the Oval Office.
Oh my goodness. Michelle, Barack, this means so much to me.
This week saw the new Labour government come under fire over their refusal to commit to lifting the two-child benefit cap. The cap, which was introduced by the Tories in 2017, prevents most families from being able to claim universal credit or child tax credit for a third or subsequent children. And there's lots of pressure from Labour backbenchers to scrap the policy. But new Chancellor Rachel Reeves said she's not willing to make unfunded spending commitments.
It costs more than £3 billion a year. And we were really clear during the election that we were not going to make spending commitments without being able to say where the money was going to come from. If we're not able to say where the money is going to come from, we can't promise to do it.
She's also placed blame on the Tories for leaving public finances in a dire state, with a Treasury audit which is due on Monday expected to show a black hole of around £20 billion. However, her predecessor, Jeremy Hunt, says it's all nonsense.
What is absolute nonsense is this business of the worst economic inheritance since the Second World War. And I think the reason that she's doing this is that she wants to lay the ground for tax rises. New Prime Minister Keir Starmer was busy on Monday at the Farnborough Air Show for no immediately obvious reason, but you'd wonder if he had one eye on the skies. He did meet with the CEOs of Airbus and Rolls-Royce as he toured the show, but his focus was on jobs and a new way to bridge the gap between education and business with the launch of a new programme called Skills England. At the press conference, however, the focus continued to be on the two-child benefit cap and whether or not he would respond to pressure from within his own party to act.
I'm not surprised we're having a debate about it. It's good that we're having a debate about it. What matters is that we turn that into action and reduce child poverty, which is what I'm determined that we will do.
Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson said there is no change in policy on the matter, but that the new Child Poverty Task Force that she's co-chairing with the Work and Pensions Secretary will have real impact.
I'm delighted to be leading a task force across government to look at how we can bear down on those numbers, how all of us can make sure that we're tackling child poverty. There are a range of measures that we will need to consider in terms of how we respond to this.
Tuesday night saw MPs gather for a debate on the King's Speech, which saw the first Labour rebellion for the new government as 7 backbenchers defied party whips. An SNP and Lib Dem motion calling for the abolition of the child benefit cap was selected for a vote, and Labour MP Zara Sultana was clear about her intentions before the vote.
The key driver of rising child poverty is the two-child benefit cap. And the single most effective way of tackling child poverty is immediately lifting 300,000 children out of poverty by scrapping this cruel policy.
She and 6 other Labour MPs, including John McDonnell, voted in favour of the SNP amendment. The motion didn't pass, however, with the government winning with 353 votes to 103. The 7 rebels have now had the whip removed for 6 months. The SNP's Kirsty Blackman was surprised by Starmer's response.
I mean, how can John McDonnell not be a Labour Party MP. Like, he's the very embodiment of so many of Labour's kind of positions and historical positions and position on this political spectrum, and now he's had the whip suspended. I mean, that's just baffles me. It's unbelievable.
Zara Sultana, one of those MPs who is now suspended, says that it wasn't made clear beforehand what the consequences of her vote might be.
I'm disappointed that the party has taken this decision. The party should be able to tolerate difference in opinion. And actually, there isn't much difference in opinion because a lot of the Parliamentary Labour Party want to scrap the two-child benefit cap. But the fact that this decision has been made is disappointing.
Labour has been clear that they're focused on child poverty and intend to take action, but they were also clear that lifting the cap was not part of their manifesto. Former MP Jonathan Ashworth, who is now the chief executive of Labour Together, says the penalty was justified.
The context we're in at the moment is 3 weeks or so since a general election when the first Labour King's Speech was put forward, and to not defend the King's Speech in the voting lobbies is why this decision has been taken.
A new report issued on Tuesday by the UK's National Police Chiefs Council found that women and girls in the UK are suffering what is described as epidemic levels of violent crime. The report found that violence against females made up about 20% of all crime in England and Wales between 2022 and 2023, and 1 in 6 murders were related to domestic abuse. Deputy Chief Constable Maggie Blythe was warning that the actual numbers may be higher because of historic underreporting of these types of crimes, and that the level of violence makes it a national emergency. Labour MP Jess Phillips is a long-time campaigner on this issue, and she's now the Minister for Safeguarding. She says that the new government understands the urgency of the situation.
This has to be prioritised. We're going to have to be very, very firm on what we expect from agencies such as the police, from government departments themselves, and from the people in our country.
It's only been just over 2 weeks since there was a failed assassination attempt on former US President Donald Trump. Monday saw the director of the Secret Service, Kimberly Cheadle, attending a hearing of the House Oversight Committee. She wouldn't be drawn on specifics as she was quizzed about why the security perimeter was set within the range of the AR-15 rifle the shooter used. But she did concede that there had been between 2 and 5 Secret Service communications about a suspicious individual before the shots rang out. Despite pressure from both Democrats and Republicans, she declined to offer her resignation.
We failed. As a director of the United States Secret Service, I take full responsibility for any security lapse. We must learn what happened, and I will move heaven and earth to ensure that an incident like July 13th does not happen again.
That wasn't the end of the story, however, as a letter from the joint chairman of the hearing, James Comer, and Jamie Raskin was issued immediately following the hearing. It requested that she quit her position, and that proved effective as she handed in her notice on Tuesday afternoon. President Biden expressed his gratitude for her service and promised a full inquiry, but House Speaker Johnson was less graceful about it.
It is overdue. She should have done this at least a week ago. I'm happy to see that. I'm happy to see that she has heeded the call of both Republicans and Democrats. Now we have to pick up the pieces.
Still to come in the Standout 7, Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds take their bromance to the big screen, and Prince Harry is telling tabloid tales.
Right after this.
This season, Instacart has your back to school. As in, they've got your back to school lunch favorites like snack packs and fresh fruit. And they've got your back to school supplies like backpacks, binders, and pencils. And they've got your back when your kid casually tells you they have a huge school project due tomorrow. Let's face it, we were all that kid. So first, call your parents to say I'm sorry, and then download the Instacart app to get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes all school year long. Get a $0 delivery fee with your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 an order. Additional terms apply.
Welcome back.
Thursday saw Labour launch Great British Energy, one of their flagship policies from the election campaign. The intention is to provide a publicly owned energy company that will invest in clean power and drive investment in renewable energy across the UK. Keir Starmer has pledged to support the new company and assist in the rollout of onshore and offshore energy wind farms in particular, with a plan suggesting that wind energy could power 20 million homes within 5 years. He said it's not just about the environment, it's about energy security.
For as long as we remain reliant on foreign dictators for fossil fuels, this country will be exposed to future energy shocks like the one that we've just had.
Secretary of State for Energy and Net Zero Ed Miliband said that if the UK doesn't take these steps, we'll continue to see energy bills rise.
Unless we get off that dependence on fossil fuels, we won't reduce bills. And so the whole drive of this government is let's get onto clean energy, let's get off fossil fuels, let's reduce our dependence. That is the way to give the security to the British people that they deserve.
Thursday night saw a new ITV documentary drop called The Tabloids on Trial. It traced the phone hacking scandal that's been going on for at least 2 decades and featured a number of high-profile celebrities who settled cases with newspaper groups. The guest list included Hugh Grant, Charlotte Church, Paul Gascoigne, and in his first major interview since he won a judgment against the Mirror Group in December, Prince Harry. He spoke about the impact tabloid snooping has had on his life, how it made him feel, and on the impact it's also had on his mother, Princess Diana.
When you're vindicated, it proves that you weren't being paranoid. You know, same with my mother. You know, there is evidence to suggest that she was being hacked in the mid-90s, and yet still today the tabloid press very much enjoy painting her as being paranoid, but she wasn't paranoid, and she's not around today to find out the truth.
Deadpool and Wolverine hit cinemas this weekend, and its cast and crew have been all over social media recently building up the hype. Producer Wendy Jacobson sat down with Virgin Radio to talk about the new film, and she couldn't stop gushing about its star, Hugh Jackman. Here she is talking about how his performance on set brought people to tears.
He is such an extraordinarily talented actor and such a real presence, and by the way, a wonderful human being. There are several days I can remember in the tent, people being so moved by his performance, moved to tears multiple times, and it's just a real joy and pleasure to work with him, really.
Early reviews have been pretty positive, with one critic calling it the ultimate Deadpool movie and the ultimate Wolverine movie. It's got a host of stars, including The Crown's Emma Corrin and Succession's Matthew McFadden, along with a rumoured special guest cameo. Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman spoke at the New York premiere about how their friendship helped the movie.
You know, writing dialogue for Wolverine, thank God he was so generous helping guide me in that direction, but he pushed me harder than I think I've ever been pushed.
It's been 24 years and the biggest part of the foundation of my career, but I have to tell you, this experience with them and working with Ryan was the best of all of them.
You've been listening to The Smart 7. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Hit that follow button and have a great day. Give us 7 minutes, we'll give you the world.
If you want years of better sleep, then you have to upgrade your bedding during Boll & Branch's annual summer event. Right now, you can get Boll & Branch's best-selling, naturally cooling sheets with their best offer of the season. Feel the difference night after night of light and breathable sheets made with the highest quality materials. Shop the Boll & Branch annual summer event now for 20% off site-wide. Plus free shipping on your first set of sheets at bollandbranch.com with code BUTTERY. Limited time only. Exclusions apply. See site for details.